Hey guys, it's Stan Campbell, CCW Say Podcast. Today, very, very special guest today. Uh, Champion shooter, veteran, author, mom, and wife. Our special guest, Julie Golob. Hello. How
Hello.
are you doing?
I'm so happy to be here.
Listen, I was so excited that you don't do many of these in person, so I was so happy to see that she's gonna come and be on ours.
This is my first in-person one, I think.
This is great.
So it's exciting.
Well, welcome. Welcome to our office, and we're glad to have you. You are an ambassador for CCW Safe. You have been for about 2 years now, right? Tell the people, I always like to start off with just getting a backstory.
Sure.
Tell us about you.
I grew up in upstate New York, of all places, and hunted, fished, went shooting with my dad growing up, and totally a daddy's girl. And one day we decided to get involved with a sport called practical shooting, and we became a daddy-daughter team. We would be range officers for matches and go shoot them, and just had the best time. We traveled all over the Northeast competing, and I got pretty good.
And you said as a teenager?
As a teenager, I started shooting when I was 14.
And you said you guys went hunted. You hunted as well.
Yeah.
And what did you hunt?
Deer, mostly.
Okay,
yeah.
mostly deer.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But my dad was an ultimate outdoorsman, so if anything, it was outside, had to do with a reel or a gun, he was all over it. So,
Awesome.
And being a middle child, not getting along with my brother and sister very well.
Yeah.
I always hung out with my dad, and we became a little daddy-daughter team.
Nice. And that started you on your journey of shooting, right?
Yeah.
And so how long did you and your dad continue to shoot, or?
So I worked as a range officer with him when I was very small, but we started shooting when I was 14 in these matches in New York, practical shooting matches. And when I was a junior in high school, I went to my first national championships. And it was there that I was recruited to shoot for the Army shooting team. So I was home with Dad shooting for, freshman year to my senior year in high school. And then I left to shoot for the military.
Awesome. And you entered the military when?
In 1995.
1995, and that was the Army, right?
Yes.
Okay. And in that time, were you an instructor there, or what would you do in the Army?
So being recruited for the Army shooting team, the Army Marksmanship unit at that time was training and doctrine. They fell in under that. So we all had to become instructors. We all had to, work on how to make the military better, in my case, pistol shooters. And then eventually they transitioned to recruiting command. So I did a lot of special events, and we even went to air shows and all that stuff, telling everybody that they could come into the Army and shoot guns.
I love it.
So,
Okay, and you have a family as well.
I do.
So husband.
That's
He's
good.
in law enforcement, right?
Yeah, my husband's in law enforcement. I have 2 girls, a teenager and a tween, I guess it is.
That's right.
That keep me busy, and yeah.
Are they shooters as well?
So my oldest daughter likes to hunt. She's my hunter, and my youngest one just had this major growth spurt, and she's ready. She's like, now I'm big enough to, to hold the air pistol and get out there and do that. So they both come to matches with us. My husband competes as well, so we often will take little family vacations and travel around to the different matches, and they volunteer, and like I used to with my dad. So it's funny how things come full circle.
Now,
Yeah.
are you a better shooter than your husband?
I used to be able to say definitely if it was a game, but he's getting really good at the games now too. So I'm going to say we're equal, just to be fair, to myself, because he's getting very good.
That's okay. That's okay. It's so funny that most, not all, but most law enforcement officers, who are shooters, they have some really top-notch ones, but in the civilian world, just bypass them, in most cases. There's a lot of salty shooters out there. I was on SWAT for 10 years on Oklahoma City Police Department, but never did any competitive shooting.
Yeah. It's a totally different thing.
It is, but it's just still, one of those things, keeping your skills up, and it's just it's a great thing, and I commend you for all the work that you put in, early age, right?
Yeah.
All right, so your hubby's in law enforcement. You went through got the kids, Army, and you said you did 8 years in the Army.
8
right?
years in the Army. Yeah.
Okay, and then upon coming out of the Army, is that when you started pursuing, becoming,
pro shooter.
Pro shooter and
Yeah.
and you instruct as well, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
to a certain degree. Most of it, I don't have formal classes anymore because I'm so busy traveling
Yes.
and meeting sponsor obligations. It was funny, when it's your job to shoot in the
Yes.
military, it kind of can take some of the joy from it. And so
Okay.
when I got out, I was ready to be done. I was
Yeah.
tired. I was, it was constant nonstop. And, oh, you won the nationals last year. What are you going to do for me now?
Oh,
You know,
wow.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was ready to take a break. And I thought I was done.
Yeah.
I thought I was not going to be competing anymore until I went to a local club match. And I fell in love with the sport all over again for all the right reasons. Same reasons I, went shooting with my dad. And kind of re-entered kind of thought, I shouldn't stop this. I'm definitely talented. I can continue to do this. Maybe I won't be able to have hundreds of thousands of rounds at my disposal like I did in the Army, but it's something I wanted to do. And after that, I was hired to shoot for Glock and work with their Glock Sport Shooting Foundation, and then Smith & Wesson stole me away. And so
There's nothing wrong with that.
then I became a full-time pro shooter.
You gotta love America.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so all right, well, you were really doing a lot. Okay, so no, this is great. I mean, like I hope to be down with you because you're gonna shoot with you can put on a class here in
Yes.
Oklahoma City, right, with us.
Yes.
Yes, I want to come down there and just watch you do your thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna outshoot me so bad. So.
No.
But that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna learn from you. I love it. Now, in that world, it's really the world of firearms, competitive shooting. Men like to try to dominate, right? Do you get into the mixed matches or?
So the sports that I compete in are all heads up. So
Awesome.
men and women compete together.
Okay.
And they do acknowledge, ladies divisions as well as, juniors, seniors, grand seniors, law enforcement, military. So they have special categories for that sort of thing, but everybody competes heads up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's nice because then you have an idea of where you stand against the absolute best shooters out there. And generally speaking, in a practical shooting event, you'll see the top females shoot anywhere between 75 to 85%, and sometimes, they'll bust into even higher percentages, and it kind of spurs us, and it makes us feel like we want to do more instead of
Yes.
just, say, no, you won the ladies category, you're all good, but instead we can look at the big picture and try to keep getting better.
So, what's your greatest challenge when it comes down to competitive shooting?
I think that now it's age because everybody's so much younger and faster, and they're starting so much younger.
Yeah.
I mean, I started when I was 14. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, that's so young you're competing at that age." I wish I started when I was 14. And now you've got kids that are starting in Steel Challenge, Rimfire Challenge, and they're 7, 8 years old, and they're just so fast and so accurate that keeping up the good fight
Yeah.
as somebody who's been around in the sport for 25, 30 years is a challenge. But it's also exciting because I think it makes everybody better too. I mean, I know I'm still inspired to do well and still maintain a certain level, which is good, but it's also good to be able to be there to, mentor the younger generations and encourage them and say, stick with it and celebrate them because that's what it's about.
So let's talk for a second. A lot of young girls out there, up and coming shooters. You still take a position of, almost like a celebrity. What do you feel about that position, and how do you deal with it?
So I don't care for the word celebrity too much. I guess what I really love about the shooting sports is that we're all there on the range together. We're all doing the same thing. So there's no special trailer for me to go off to and do my own thing. I don't get my pristine, slot time to shoot that, make sure there's no rain or wind. We're all there in it together.
Yeah.
And so when you're squatted with a group of competitors, you get to spend an entire weekend with them or a day with them, and that's really neat. But I think that what I love about shooting sports and the people in them is the willingness for everybody to help each other out. I mean, obviously, if you're competing at a nationals, it's a little different scenario. But if you go to your local club and, shoot, you're going to meet everybody of any ability level. And so I guess I really enjoy that aspect of it. And yes, people get excited and like, oh, there's a sponsored shooter or what have you. But after a few minutes of just talking, they just, oh, you're just one of us. So it's kind of a cool thing.
I like it. Let's take a step back real quick. We don't hear about it too often, but give us a little bit more information about the AMU.
Sure. So the Army Marksmanship Unit, when I was in, had, I think, 7 different shooting sections. And we were less than 100 shooters in the entire unit, and then there was a staff support group and gunsmiths. But between shotgun events and international events with the Olympics, and then action shooting, which is what the team that I was on, we had each of these sections. And, you're hired you're given a letter of acceptance to the Army Marksmanship Unit, and then you're given these gates or goals. And so within your first year, you have to meet a certain ability or win certain or do something at certain matches to earn your black hat, so that you can travel and do all the things.
Yes.
And then each year, those goals, performance goals, increase. So it encourages people to stay motivated.
Yes.
And it's already a competitive environment anyway. And even if you only have a small team of 5 or 6 people, you're still competing with one another in that sense. And your entire goal is to compete and win. So yes, there are a few days that you're doing mundane tasks like moving rocks or mowing lawns and that sort of thing, range maintenance.
Yes.
But the entire purpose of the existence of the AMU is to compete and win. And so there's a lot of, even in the off season, you're thinking of ways to be better for the next season, or you're training other groups within the military so that they can improve their skills and just bring overall value to the Army in general. So it was a fun time, but also a stressful time.
Of course.
I went into the AMU from New York to go into basic training in Alabama and then go into Fort Benning, Georgia. It was a very big culture change and a big life change, because I left this amazing support system of, everybody cheering me on at home. My dad was my biggest fan, to like, okay, private, go mop the floors and we don't care about your feelings and all of that, to, all right, when are you going to win next, sort of thing. So I shot a lot of rounds. I shot over 100,000 rounds in a year, in 1 year. So I rely on that foundation even today of shooting. But it's a lot. It's a lot to maintain over the years. And you see people who will come in and they will either leave after 5 or 8 years, like I did, or they'll stay for 20 years, but they'll transition to leadership roles within the unit and make changes that way. So.
And were you able to utilize different firearms within the unit, or?
No,
or they
you're focused.
Okay.
I mean, we would do sometimes these camaraderie kind of events in the fall where it would like, oh, go shoot a shotgun and see how it, have some fun kind of thing, but nothing like you didn't get to cross over. Like, nope, you're here on your mission to do what you need to do, and that's that. But again, it was fun, and I got to travel the world. I mean, I've shot on 6 continents now.
Wow.
And a lot of that was thanks to the military, and some of it not. But, I've traveled to Europe and other places. But it's really neat to say, how many people can say that they've, been to 6 continents with a gun on their hip, right?
Not many.
Not that many. I need the 7th.
Yeah.
So if you have a connection, let me know.
No, I don't.
You don't have a connection.
We're not going there. That's awesome. So out of all the countries that you traveled and you shot in, your favorite?
Oh, it's very hard. I love, being homegrown in the country, upstate New York kind of girl, traveling everywhere. It was just an eye-opening experience. So whether it was Panama or Greece, or I've been to Russia, I've been to the Philippines, Africa. It's all been. Each trip is something special, and the people and the culture is really neat too. So.
Awesome. Speaking of culture, so we'll slide into the gun industry. Yeah. Okay, because we have a culture.
We do.
Okay. Sometimes we eat our own, which is terrible.
We do.
But how's it feel being in the gun industry as a female shooter?
Oh, it's better than it's ever been. I think it's fantastic. When I first entered the industry, there weren't that many women in general, and there certainly weren't very many professional shooter females. But now, I mean, every manufacturer has some sort of whether they have a professional shooting team or they're sponsoring events or youth groups or whatever. They're really, really active, and it's a welcoming place. I mean, sure, every now and again you're going to run into your typical stereotypes, you know, especially if you go to a rural gun shop and you may get little ladied a little bit, but it always comes from a good place.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a sinister thing.
Yeah, don't point Julie toward those pink guns. Not having it.
No, but it's great. I feel like it's so much more welcoming and warm than the military ever was.
Yeah, that's refreshing.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of challenges, you had a physical challenge, right?
Yeah.
It was this past year?
Yeah, it was December of the year past, so a full year, yeah.
Okay, a full year.
Yeah.
And so you had a shoulder surgery?
I did.
Okay, so that kind of
Put a damper on
things. So that pulled you away for a little bit?
Yes.
When did you, tell me about that journey real quick, you know,
Sure.
because it just kind of punches you in the gut.
It was surprising. Over the years I've noticed that my shoulders have felt a little worn out, and that's, I can't tell you, millions and millions of draws over my career.
Yeah.
And I used to do a lot of DIY stuff and that sort of thing with my dad. But I went to an orthopedic surgeon to have them check my shoulder out, and they're like, "Oh, full tear. You've got to have surgery, and you got to have it soon." And so, I was in a sling for many weeks, and I think the biggest shocking thing was being so immobilized, you lose everything. I mean, you can't even brush your teeth. You're just stuck there. So I got a left-handed holster and started carrying left-handed, and tried to keep as much shooting as I could with being able to do things with just one hand. And it was challenging. I had the surgery in December, and I was able to start shooting in June. And then
That's still a quick
it
bounce back.
is, but it was amazing. I was totally maxed out at like 200 rounds. So, like, stick a fork in me, I'm done.
Yeah,
Whereas like a long training day, I couldn't even fathom it. And then I started competing in August, so I had a very compressed season. But it taught me a lot of things that you kind of take for granted. Sometimes you just shoot to shoot, and when you can only shoot based on what you can do, you're just much more aware. And so I think it helped me be a better shooter. And hopefully we'll find out this season, and I'll have a full season here, first
Awesome.
full season back.
We're happy about that.
Yeah.
I want to still talk about some industry stuff. You now do some videos for different organizations to include ours. Top 3 tips when it comes down to carrying for women. Now we're pulling out of the shooting, professional shooting, into just carrying.
Right. So I think that a lot of times we don't think about the way we're going to carry and how that's going to be consistent. I feel like a lot of women are just thrown into this world where there's so much stuff. I mean, there's so much gear, there's so many different holsters, there's so much vernacular about how you describe things that it can be really overwhelming. But finding a good setup that is concealable and has enough capacity that you're going to be comfortable with it, and then also being capable are really the big 3 things. And a lot of times we'll tell women, "Oh, this is the perfect gun for you," whether it's old school, the revolver, right, the classic revolver, or if it's something very complicated that they're not just going to train with. It's really about a journey, and you have to accept it as such. I mean, it's kind of like driving a car. When you first learn to drive a car, you don't care what you're driving.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you just want to learn how to drive, right? And then in certain phases of your life, your interests, well, maybe not your interests, maybe you always want a Porsche, right? But your needs evolve.
Yes.
And so having the right vehicle at the right time of your life for what you want it to do is important. And it's the same way with a firearm or whatever self-defense tool. And the more you learn and the more you become improve your shooting skills, you're going to evolve what you want to carry. I would be very hesitant to recommend a J-frame revolver to a first-time person who is male or female if they didn't know how to shoot, because then they may not shoot it well and they only have 5 rounds. However, someone later on in life who has a lot of experience or is very concerned about comfort or being able to manipulate a slide, revolver may be the absolute best choice for them. So it's really is a journey, and I know that's really cliche, but I feel that it is. I feel it's a really, that's how you look at things, and how you can find out what works best for you in your life at that time.
Absolutely. And since 2020, really, I mean, the numbers of women who carry and who have purchased firearms, I mean, they were just skyrocketed.
Well, it's the number one reason why they buy it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of women that will get it, that they want it for safety, but they'll get it and not carry, or just not be comfortable carrying all the time.
Yeah.
What's your suggestions on just getting started?
So it does add a little bit of an expense, but I think buying a blue gun in whatever firearm that you have, whether it's, like it's a shield, let's say, and buying a blue gun, and just carrying that around your house, getting used to the idea of having something on your body that you wouldn't normally have.
Yes.
Because, guys usually wear belts.
Yes.
They used to wear cell phone holsters and all that stuff. Women are not used to that. It's so fashion oriented. But to find out what works with the wardrobe that you have, and there's no risk to it at all because it's a piece of plastic. And then you can kind of get a feel for that. And then you can graduate to, oh, I'm going to carry around my house, or, oh, I'm going to take a trip to the grocery store. And just subtly, kind of baby step your way into it, so that eventually you're going to find out what's actually comfortable, what actually works, what actually makes you feel like you can be competent with, and you can go down that road.
Getting your perspective, when I say situational awareness, and I'm a first-time shooter, come back at me with some advice.
That's kind of your first line of defense. Situational awareness is your ability to understand everything that's going on around you. You know this. But in the world where everything happens like this in front of our face with phones, and we're so used to loud noises or distractions, or we're so used to plugging in, people don't even realize what's going on around them, even in their own homes. So just taking those little steps of saying, okay, I'm going to take a trip to the grocery store. I'm not going to have my phone. I'm not going to look at my phone once. I'm going to be totally aware of what's going on around me. Or you can teach your kids this. You say, all right, we're going to go for a short drive. No phones. Everybody's just got to pay attention to what you see in the neighborhood, and make it a game. The more you do that, the more you can avoid bad situations. And then also you look like you're aware, you as a woman especially. I mean, when I'm walking down the street, my head is up and I don't look like I'm a victim. And so that's a really valuable thing.
I love that part right there, because I tell people all the time, sometimes if I am an aggressive panhandler, if he asks me for anything, I look at him and say, I'm not a victim. That's so important to let people know that, to put that off, to understand it, be aware that you're not a victim and you're not going to be. And if you think about that, it will help you do exactly what you said, not be so pulled into the phone.
Yeah.
And even if you don't do total no phone time, possibly like taking that time where I'm about to park and put you on pause.
Yep.
Or I'll call you back once I get inside the store. Because we get so pulled into that, male and female, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
You have to pay attention so that you're not a victim, right?
Exactly.
Well, good stuff. So, shooting, you had to practice shooting with your left hand, right? Okay. More challenging.
Oh.
I'm
very righty.
I'm righty and lefty. I can do both.
Oh, you're
yeah,
so
I'm lucky. I'm lucky. But more challenging. Did you practice to be able to competitively shoot?
Oh gosh.
Oh, okay.
No.
Just for survival.
Yeah.
Survival shooting.
So it would be to the extent that I couldn't even load the magazine. I'd have my husband load the gun, or just get it ready for me. Or if I was going to dry fire, I wouldn't be able to dry fire actually pulling the trigger. I would just be able to feel the looseness of the trigger. But carrying left-handed is awkward because you're not used to doing anything. But when when your shoulder is strapped up to you in a sling, it makes it a little easier. You're not tempted to do something with your other hand.
Yeah.
But I will say that it made me. I feel like it's made me a better instructor because it's given me empathy that I didn't have. And so often we tell people it's just a technique issue. You can do anything with the right technique. Well, sometimes you actually can't.
Correct.
And to be in that kind of position and feeling vulnerable, because, here I am, if I'm going out and about, I'm the first person that somebody could knock over, even if it was, non-intentional. It made me have a better sense of being more aware of how people feel, especially if there's a sense of fear in why they carry, and then also how to be a better shooter and how to teach better, because not all of these solutions are effective for everyone.
Correct. And it's good that you said that, because not all professionals are great teachers.
That's
so
true.
I mean that's a skill set that you have to nurture on both sides.
Yeah.
So that's great to hear. Back on real world stuff, right? Okay, I love just giving people tips about situational awareness. Fix that for me, sir. I love giving tips on situational awareness. Do you have any things that, like traveling to the ATM, doing, pulling up to a convenience store, to the gas pumps? Is there anything that you tell your students or?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for me is I always make sure I have my keys on me. So I'm always locking the door behind myself.
Nice.
I'm always making sure that no one can get into my vehicle. If I have my kids with me and I'm at the ATM, I'm like, all right, you're looking this direction, you're looking at that direction, make sure nobody comes around, or somebody's at the gas pump, whatever. We're all kind of aware of what's going on around us. And I think that that's something that you can, again, make a game, or you make it a point to think about all of the bad things that can happen, right? Could someone open my door? I have a vehicle that when I put it in park, the doors, all of them automatically unlock. So I went to my dealership and I said, make this not happen.
Don't like that.
I don't like that.
That's right.
I want this door to be unlocked because I'm going out of it, I
Yes.
will press that button.
Yes.
And yes, it's a pain because sometimes, you walk out and you're like, oh, I can't. I gotta go, unlock the doors or dig in my pocket for the keys. But, that's a convenience feature that everybody wants, but it's something that I don't want. And I don't want my doors to unlock as soon as I park. I don't want to be able to let somebody in my car. And so it's those things that when you think about it, windows by your front door, stuff like that. I feel that a lot of people will look at something for how it appeals, whether it's a convenience or how it looks, but is it really useful for your personal safety? So.
Slide into safety. I loved your blue gun, suggestion. I've never heard anybody say that before. I love it. I teach, so I have several blue guns. But to prepare yourself, some other safety tips for the gun at home, away, on the range.
So I think the number one safety tip is become really proficient with your gun handling skills. You have to be completely aware of muzzle direction and finger discipline, obviously. But a lot of newer gun owners don't think about this. They don't think about where they're pointing their pistol, whether they're putting it away, or even if you're carrying in a purse, how do you position that in the seat next to you? Like, is the gun pointing at you, or is it pointing at your kids? How is it set up? So I feel that gun handling skills are absolutely one of the best foundations ever. You don't even have to be a great shot in many situations, but being very confident with how you hold and how you can manipulate your firearm is huge. I can tell within 5 seconds how experienced someone is with a handgun just by the way they handle it. And so the more we can encourage people to handle their firearms safely, you're just going to be better off. And so, whether it's at home or the range or anywhere else in between, treating your firearms like it's loaded at all times and having this awareness of what you're doing with it just makes everyone safer, including yourself. I feel that's huge.
Awesome. And now, carry gun for you. What's your personal carry?
I carry a 4-inch Shield Plus.
Okay.
So it's a little bit bigger than what you would think someone my size would carry. But I really like the longer sight radius.
Gotcha.
And I pull that from my competition experience because little guns, shorter barrels are harder to see the errors in your sight picture. So you can't shoot them. Well, you can, but it's harder to shoot them as well as a longer barrel gun, and the barrel is not the hard part to conceal for me. So that's my current choice. Although I am playing with the idea of trying some 30 Super Carry because I like the idea of having a lot more bullets.
Nice.
More bullets is more better.
More bullets and more better. Speaking of bullets, ammunition.
I use federal HST in
Okay.
my carry guns. It doesn't matter what caliber it is.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, the benefit of working for a company like Smith & Wesson, one of my other sponsors, is I can choose from revolvers. I can choose from a wide variety of semi-autos, and so I have a lot of choices when it comes to concealed carry. And I do have my favorites. I do love the Shield platform because it's more like a full-size gun to me, and I shoot that better.
Awesome. And then with Smith & Wesson, you get a chance to play with a lot of guns, right? I think recently I saw you with, I think Smith & Wesson. It's called the Response.
Yes.
Tell me about that. I mean, why do I want one?
You do.
I do. It looks like it's so much fun.
Oh my goodness. So you know, like the evolution of like the modern sporting rifle. You know, you start with 5.56, right, and then we had the M&P 22, the 22 caliber. I mean, come on, this is so great. It's so cheap. It's so fun. And I had never shot a pistol caliber carbine before we came out with the FPC, which is the folding one, and then the Response. And it's like you just get giddy, right? You've got this long magazine, there's all this steel in front of you, you just got to shoot it all, right? But you know, it's also for people who can't own ARs with rifle calibers. You know, this is a great option. You can go shoot a shooting sport with it. You can have it at the house if you want. It's a multi-purpose tool.
I love that. Yes.
So you need to get one.
I'm going to get one. I was like, okay, I want that. I mean, I have toys.
It's the same thing with like the lever action. I'm like, I don't compete with Cowboy or anything. I want one of those.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, so now, sorry.
I missed it anyway.
The doorbell is going on.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
I haven't seen that Response. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
It's
fun.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I want that.
I know.
What was the reaction at SHOT Show to the lever gun?
Oh, overwhelmingly exciting. It's funny. People are like, oh, that's never going to sell. It's Henry and Ruger and whatever. And Mark Smith, our president, showed a picture of a pallet of them going out the door, and we sold out for the year essentially.
Wow.
It's that great, and they're being made in Massachusetts.
Okay.
On the Hammer Forge. I always have to do that whenever I say Hammer Forge. Because, boom, it's just drive it home. But they're neat.
That's cool.
All right, you ready to get back in? Thank you. Okay, so we talk ammunition, we talk firearms. Like, what do you love about our industry?
Gosh, I feel like, you know, when you look at other industries, there's this big sense of competition. Like, it doesn't matter if it's furniture, soda, food. Everybody wants the big piece of the pie, right? They want to dominate. And overwhelmingly in our industry, there's this united sense around people being able to own firearms and defend themselves and what they love. And so no matter what, there's that unifying factor. And so you can go to a trade show and see every major manufacturer out there. And yes, they're wanting to convince you to buy their wares. But at the end of the day, we're gun people.
Yes.
And that's very unifying. And I love that about our industry.
That's awesome. Okay, so now let's talk. We all care about our reputations and who we attach ourselves to, you know, the reason why we're doing this here. And like, why did you choose, 'cause I ask everybody this, but it's important. Why did you choose CCW Safe to be connected to?
You know, I take a lot of pride in choosing really great brands to work with, and brands that are passionate about what they do and are very, very loyal to their customers. And so with CCW Safe in particular, I feel like there's this genuine air of true care and concern for the members. And it's not just, you're just not a number. You're not just, you know, giving your money every year. It is so much more than that, you know, aside from things like this podcast and the resources that you have, knowing that you have someone in your corner and the plans that you offer are really thoughtful and fit every person. So whether you're a military veteran or retired law enforcement, or you're a couple, or you live in a constitutional carry state, there's something for you and the things that you care about outlined in so many different options. And I think that's really special. It's not, you're just not a number.
Thank you. And we agree with you, so yes. For all the ladies out there, especially the ones that are, you know, brand new to this world, give us just a couple more things that you think they should know.
So, number one, even if you don't think you'll ever own a firearm, it's really important to learn how they work and be able to unload one if you need to, and be aware of what to do around them. So even if you never intend to be a competitive shooter or carry a gun concealed, it's a life skill. And you shouldn't live in a state of fear about an inanimate object. You should be concerned about what it can do and how to make sure that it can't harm you and others. But everyone should learn the basic rules of firearm safety and how to address a firearm in their presence. So I feel that's very important. And when you do that, there's a level of confidence and a surety in yourself that you can handle more things. And then you just go down the road, right? Whether you decide you just want to go planking with a ladies' night, you know, at a local gun range, or if you decide, you know, no, I want to take some serious classes, or I want to go compete. There's so much opportunity out there, and it is such a welcoming community that you will find something that will work for you, and you'll really enjoy the process, the whole process.
Awesome. Well, guys, such a treat for Julie to come in. JulieGolob.com, right?
Yeah.
Make sure you follow her. She's a lot of great stuff. Instagram and TikTok?
No TikTok.
No TikTok.
But Facebook and
Okay.
the others, YouTube, all that. No
All right.
TikTok.
Make sure you guys follow her. She has a lot of great tips and stuff that she brings across, and we're happy to have her as one of our ambassadors. And thank you again for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys. You be safe.